publisher, friend, John, for bringing me over, and for you folks for turning out. I alternate, I was just explaining to someone, quite a bit, between New York and Italy. And so I want to start with, sorry, I'm a bit of a stander. I need to move, kind of like a shark. So I'll start with an Italian poem. This is called A Sky, oh, 1 second. A sky stretching, luxurious with Marina. Marina's lover has gone to Rome, leaving Marina to roam alone. A bud about to burst in the garden of our villaggio here in the north, drinking at the cafe in Piazza Centro tonight, leaning back in my chair, a sky stretching, luxurious with Marina, drunk with stars, as much as absent, as much as the opportunity born by her man's absence. What's a poet to do? With my flawed Italian, do I dare open the rusted door of my mouth and speak to dear Carina? Tonight I've asked the sky, cobblestone and piazzas, all that might conspire to help me acquire the one night with Carina Marina I desire. Of course, it's not my style to go after another man's girl, but here we are speaking of a world where I find I've no words to talk, a world dictated by young Marina's legs as she walks, a world whose only sotto voce heard, lilting in a whisper that makes me hard, belongs to her. Marina's beauty in an empty strada finds me standing from my seat, leaving the cafe in Piazza Centro, following her steps, losing my grip as Marina looks over her shoulder with a smile from her full lips. Just the goddamn encouragement I need. Call me shallow. Say my head is high. Say no poem of substance will come of such a nocturnal diversion. Let no lines in my mind arrive to render how this brown-eyed girl here, like a sign warning curves ahead, makes me surrender. Having polished off a bottle, with my foot pressing the throttle of my appetite to the floor. Fuck it, just to finish the war with this thing called poetry. I'll wave the white flag of a blank page. Who cares why these pages were born? This dribble waiting for a match to burn. Let my syllables be sore, words weak, my language's muscles torn, unable to lift a decent poem to the page. In this dimly lit strada, now walking, arms linked with Marina. All that matters is the night ahead. This next poem, Relook, takes us from Italy back to New York. In fact, a location I was in a week ago, JFK Airport. It's called Movie Mix-Up at JFK Airport. A woman finds herself standing face to face with a man she did not at all expect to see in the crowd of travelers at this exact moment or location. The International Arrivals Terminal at JFK, the exit ramp, the place where they stop, stare at each other, but do not speak. While other travelers rush after their workaday life, this moment is maybe just a speck as the woman and man are suspended, looking for what's left in each other's tired eyes. But there are different movies playing in their heads of their years together. So they both see in each other's eyes their own varied internal cinema projection of two alternate films on the big screen of their lives. This is how an airport terminal becomes a blur of too many different movies flickering, too much salt on the popcorn, too many misleading previews, too many suitcases on wheels, too many voices on cell phones after landing, all in the mad rush to move across this place the world calls America.
Oh.
Thank you. This, again, well, now we're in Manhattan, out of the airport. This is called On the Elusive Quality of Bridges. From the roof of my high-rise, I can see the bridges, creased sleeves, stretched iron rods, piano strings. The proof is there, right before my eyes, where the sky's gauze, bandages all. So I'm quite certain, no, I'm convinced the bridges exist. Indeed, each night the evidence appears the same. It's incontrovertible. When the GW, the Triborough, the 59th Street, and the Brooklyn's strapped-on lights begin to sputter and blush, luminous splashes on the Hudson and East River's skin. But each morning, back on the street, when I search round the rims of our island called Manhattan, I can't find a bridge anywhere. And it's no use asking for directions. They all end the same, with disappointed expectations. Despite faithfully following every suggested twist and turn, despite enduring traffic hour after hour, the bridges still elude me. And it seems there's nothing to satisfy the absurd absence of bridges. I know they exist, those extended paths between our edges, the hidden high routes that facilitate transporting one to another place, the elevated passageways that connect one body to another. Hell, I'm perfectly prepared to pay whatever the toll is. Yet I'm still searching, struggling to find a way to cross over. There was a big play, musical years ago in New York on Broadway called Guys and Dolls. I always loved the song Luck Be a Lady Tonight. And I've always thought of literature as a lady. So this is a poem called Literature is an Elderly Woman in a Flannel Suit. And it begins with an epigraph from Leontius. When Orpheus was gone, one muse was yet haply left. But when thou wilt perish, ah, literature, the harp likewise shall cease. Tonight, literature is wearing a flannel suit for dining out. It's winter now in more ways than one, and there's no need of snow to know it. Once, she used to smack her lips at the smell of steaks and smoke. Now she taps her plate with her fork. Times have changed. The most innocent joke can be taken wrong, and there's no pardoning mistakes. So like a modern and solid citizen, she orders an organic salad. Literature has suffered through centuries of writers who bore her, their furies hounding them with their nagging compulsion to expose the old cast and crew of exhausted emotions as if they were new. But she still listens for what might be heard when those few leave the herd and light the warm furnace of a phrase that might flash and catch a page. Tonight, though, she's out to eat and drink. What of it? Literature likes to drink. Syllables thirst for libations. Now she studies the blonde, blue-eyed waitress and questions her own intentions. How easy the young are to undress. Literature had a weakness for men for ages that, of course, was unfair, but lately it's young women who set her on fire. The waitress is thin, petite. She might even be discreet. Her blonde tresses are tied up, exposing the nape of her neck. What would it be to lie beside her, hold her, or just touch her young skin, follow the delicate curves of her torso with her fingers? As literature finishes her drink, she waves the waitress over, orders another, and thinks how falling in love is still as easy as ever. Literature is almost tempted to wink, but then, catching her reflection in a nearby mirror, shivers and returns to herself, recalling that to most, she's beneath notice, not cute, but just an elderly woman in a flannel suit. This, and please don't take offense, recall the narrator of this piece is Odysseus, not me. It's him speaking. It's tipping my hat to Homer. I was always fascinated, I'd not heard others comment on this, in the Odyssey. Really, I thought Homer sets the precedent for the first other woman in Circe. And after spending a year with Circe, when Odysseus tells Circe he wants to get back to Ithaca, to his wife, and Telemachus, his son, she sets up what other women have been saying for centuries. When the man says he's coming back to the wife, she says, go to hell, although Homeric, it's go to Hades. And the difference is Homer was brilliant because his hero, Odysseus, when he's told go to hell, says, oh, okay, just can you give me directions? And Circe does, and the very next chapter in the Odyssey, he's off to the underworld. So, but this is actually a more modern relocation of Odysseus, but springboarding from some of those thoughts. Odysseus at the Veterans Hospital. Beyond the hospital, a beach, a strip of sand where my past twists in brine, shines in sea glass, and floats with empty beer cans. I don't know what I'm still doing here. Mostly, I listen to the waves bitch, watch how they shrug and then collapse, listen to my stale cigarettes sputter and hiss questions I can't guess. Mostly, I'm hooked on the head nurse, Circe, who dispenses the meds. After the war, being at sea for so long, I didn't give a fuck. My legs still wobbled and I was stuck homesick and blue until Circe started cutting a pharmaceutical blow that leveled me, anchored me. Also, to her credit, when she spread her legs, she reminded me of what can return after battles and emptied bottles. Namely, lust. The one thing in the war I'd not entirely lost. So here I've stayed, and whatever's filled me with my few clear thoughts, I've filled this Circe with the notions an ocean tossed. But she's also had her way with me, watching her parsing the powder into neat lines, then licking and dipping one of her delicate fingertips into the snow. The way she rubs my gums numb, I'm struck dumb. Here, the nurse becomes a goddess. Here, a cursed mortal blessed. Here is how I snort my way to release, and every threat is swallowed with an acrid drip at my throat. And so it's been for a year, in the high tide of her bed, harboring my imagination, my exposed hull held fast. I didn't notice when her sex started to smell like an obligation. But today, after I pulled out of Circe, I thought of my wife, thought of my son, and knew I'd had it, that I had to head back to Ithaca. But to be perfectly honest, I'm a weak and selfish shit. I like getting laid. I like getting high, and so I haven't stayed to be a hero or defeat a lie, and not because fate played a fucked up joke. In truth, I've stayed for the pussy and the coke. I even forgot about the other vets who first took to this place like pigs to slop. My crawling crew, whose Cersei had left to grunt and mew in the mud. But today, somehow, my mood finally changed. My eyes opened. The psych ward here, known as the flight deck, is where I told Cersei I had to go back to my wife, my son, my old life. Then, despite her white uniform, with her arms waving, feet stamping as if in a storm, she looked less a nurse and more like a patient. Well, she spat at last, face aflame. I think you should go to hell. Then she even gave me directions. And now, I'm tempted by her suggestion. Seeing as since the war at my best, though I know she's no kind intention, I'm inclined to trust myself less. Along the shore my last ship's bow slaps up and down on its stubbled hull. And I may damn Cersei, but where else will I go? If not, as she put it, straight to hell. Maybe there's too much Manhattan. Maybe there's too much Manhattan. Here is where I started and always return. More than Moscow, here the city spills over the lip of each glass I drink from, over the slate bar of each dive, where centuries high and come alive. Of course, there's too much Manhattan. It floods the boathouse in the park, agitates the currents of the Hudson. Here, even more than Rome, is the most resilient town on the globe. Here, around the clock, the reach of inconsistent architecture defines in its varying lines the brittle logic of history as injury. Yes, it's Manhattan, not Paris, that truly delivers. Lectures in traffic, writes and rehearses plays on buses, composes symphonies of secrets to be performed on steel subways, spilling from Lincoln Center's fountain, spilling over the Bethesda in the park. It makes streets and avenues slippery. Here, horses bolt from carriages lined up in front of the plaza. Of course, there's too much Manhattan for one island. Yet here is where I can write and say, fuck cash. And even if most of my poems are trash, syllables that merely scratch and thrash across a page. Here is where my bantering verses first started to swim fast, and my metric feet, perhaps even years from now, might still be kicking, leaving at least a bit of a splash. I have admired the little bit I've been. This is my short final piece. It seems in Dublin the toast in the pubs can be a bit of an art form. So this is a toast to oblivion. I want to end with a toast to oblivion. Were the crooked road right and rended matter made it, the end of time would rhyme with all that climbs drunk and elated. Where the gnatted nest of noise and winded music married, the offspring of chaos would offer poise to all who stagger and are harried. But till such time as there's no more fight, or our end has left us laying on that blurry bed of cloud, I'll goddamn well continue saying, the crooked road is right, and drunk sotted passions should still be allowed to celebrate breathing by reading poetry out loud.
Oh.